The transport ship's metal doors slammed shut with a sound that echoed through Dr. Maya Chen's bones. She pressed her face against the small porthole, watching her shrink to nothing more than a pale blood. 27 years of life, reduced to memories. Well, the voice behind her dripped with malicious satisfaction. Look what we have here. A little human pet. Maya turned slowly, her hand still cupped behind her back. The Vorthen guard towered over her, his reptilian features twisted into what passed for a grin among his species. Purple scales caught the harsh lighting, and his forked tongue flicked out to taste her fear. Captain Zek sends his regards, the guard continued, circling her like a predator. He wanted me to personally ensure your comfort during the journey. Maya's voice came out steady, controlled. How thoughtful of him. She tilted her head, studying the alien's face. Tell me, what's your name, Scale Boy? The Vorthen's eyes narrowed. Guard Commander Thrak. And you will show respect, human filth. Thrak. Maya rolled the name around her mouth like she was tasting wine. Such a strong name for someone who kidnapped scientists from their labs. She smiled, and something in that expression made Thrak take a half-step backward. I'm sure your mother is very proud. Thrak's clawed hand struck her across the face, sending her stumbling against the wall. Blood trickled from her split lip, but Maya only laughed. A low, quiet sound that seemed to fill the transport hold. There it is, she whispered. Show me what you really are, Thrak. The guard's confusion was almost comical. He'd expected tears, begging, the usual human response to violence. Instead, this small woman looked at him like he was a particularly interesting specimen under a microscope. 3 days later, the transport docked at Kepler Station, a massive prison complex floating in the void between star systems. Maya had spent the journey in silence, observing, learning, cataloging every weakness she could find in the ship's security systems and crew routines. The processing center buzzed with activity. Dozens of species from across the galaxy shuffled through lines, their crimes read aloud by board administrators. Maya listened to the translations, picking up fragments of different languages, storing them away. Subject 47291. The processing droid announced in his mechanical voice. Dr. Maya Chen, human, age 27. Charged with crimes against galactic peace, development of prohibited bioweapons, and violation of the Hegemony Accords. Maya snorted. Bioweapons? That's what you're calling my cancer research now. The Altarian magistrate didn't look up from his datapad. His blue skin had a sickly pallor under the artificial lights. Your research threatens the stability of our medical cartels. Human. We cannot allow inferior species to develop cures that might upset the natural order. Natural order? Maya's voice carried an edge that made several nearby prisoners glance in her direction. You mean your profit margins. Silence. The magistrate's translator struggled with his dialect. You are sentenced to indefinite detention in Block 7, maximum security. May the void have mercy on your soul. As the guards led her away, Maya called back over her shoulder. The void doesn't have mercy, Your Honor, but neither do I. Block 7 was a nightmare made manifest. The corridors stretched endlessly, lined with cells that housed the galaxy's most dangerous criminals. The air tasted of desperation and barely contained violence. Maya's escort consisted of 4 guards from different species, all armed with neural disruptors. Your new home, announced Guard Captain Vex, insectoid Mantrani with compound eyes that glittered in the dim light. His mandibles clicked as he spoke. Cell Block 77 Alpha. You'll be sharing space with some very special residents. They stopped before a massive reinforced door marked with warning symbols in a dozen languages. Maya read the one she recognized. Extreme danger. Lethal force authorized. Do not enter without full escort. What exactly is in there? She asked. Captain Vex's laugh sounded like grinding glass. The worst of the worst, little human. Killers too dangerous for regular population. Cannibals, psychopaths, things that shouldn't exist. His compound eyes focused on her with predatory interest. We're conducting a little experiment. How long can a soft little human survive among monsters? The door slid open with a pneumatic hiss. Beyond lay darkness broken only by emergency lighting that cast everything in hellish red. The stench hit Maya immediately. Unwashed bodies, blood, and something else. Something that spoke to the primitive part of her brain. Screaming danger. Sweet dreams. Vex whispered as his guards shoved Maya forward. The door sealed behind her with terrible finality. Maya stood in the darkness, letting her eyes adjust. The cell block was enormous, designed to house perhaps 50 prisoners in individual cells. Instead, the barriers had been removed, creating one vast space filled with shadows and whispered threats. Something moved in the darkness to her left, then her right. Shapes began to emerge in the gloom, and Maya found herself surrounded by creatures from a dozen different nightmares. The first to approach was massive, easily 9 feet tall, with gray skin marked by ritual scarification. A Bruggen war criminal, if Maya's xenobiology studies were correct. His tusks had been sharpened to points, and his small red eyes fixed on her with hungry interest. Fresh meat, he rumbled in broken standard. His voice carried the accent of the Outer Rim worlds. Been too long since we had something soft to play with. Behind him, other shapes pressed closer. Maya counted at least 20 different species, all predators, all deadly. A Zelkarin assassin with blade fingers flexed her natural weapons. Twin Korvac berserkers growled at each other, arguing in their native tongue about who would get first chance at the human. Something that might have been a Nethi's shadow dancer flickered in and out of visibility, testing her reactions. Maya stood perfectly still in the center of it all, her hands no longer bound. She'd slipped the restraints during the transport, but hadn't let the guards know. Always better to be underestimated. Well, she said conversationally, as if addressing a lecture hall full of students. This is cozy. The Bruggen warrior laughed, a sound like boulders grinding together. You have spirit, little one. I am Gorthak the Bonebreaker. I have killed 300 enemies in single combat. He leaned down until his breath washed over her face. I will make your death quick if you amuse me. Maya tilted her head, studying his facial structure, the way his muscles moved, the slight favor he showed his left leg. 300? That's impressive, Gorthak. Tell me, how many of them were your own size? The warrior's expression shifted, confusion replacing predatory confidence. What? Simple question. Maya's smile was winter cold. Of your 300 kills, how many were warriors who... Maya wasn't there. She'd moved before the swing completed. Stepping inside his reach, her small fist driving upward into a nerve cluster just below his armpit. Gorthak's arm went numb, and Maya used his momentum against him, redirecting his charge into the wall behind her. The impact was spectacular. Gorthak hit the reinforced metal with a sound like a starship crash. He slumped to the floor, dazed, his arm hanging useless at his side. Maya dusted off her hands and looked around at the other prisoners, who had gone very quiet. Anyone else want to test the soft little human? The Zelkarin assassin hissed, her blade fingers extending. Luck will not save you twice, meat. Luck. Maya's laugh was genuinely amused. Oh, honey, that wasn't luck. That was Tuesday morning at the dojo. She beckoned with one finger. Come on then. Let's dance. The assassin moved like liquid mercury, her natural weapon slicing air where Maya's throat had been a heartbeat before. But Maya had studied Zelkarin physiology, knew their blind spots, understood the way their enhanced reflexes created predictable patterns. She ducked under a horizontal slash, pivoted on her heel, and drove her elbow into the base of the assassin's skull. The alien crumpled without a sound. 2 down. The Korvac twins rushed her together, their berserker rage making them predictable. Maya had read about their species, knew they relied on overwhelming force and intimidation. They expected enemies to freeze, to be paralyzed by fear. Instead, Maya moved toward them, slipping between their synchronized attacks like she was dancing. A pressure point strike to the first twin solar plexus dropped him gasping to his knees. The second twin's momentum carried him past her, and Maya's heel found the back of his knee with surgical precision. He went down hard, his leg twisted at an unnatural angle. The remaining prisoners had formed a loose circle around her, but none moved to attack. They watched her with new eyes, calculating, reassessing. Maya brushed a strand of hair from her face and smiled. I have to say, the Hegemony's intelligence files were surprisingly accurate. Most of you fight exactly like your psychological profiles suggested you would. She walked slowly around the circle, meeting each alien gaze. Predictable. Brutal, yes, but predictable. A voice spoke from the shadows near the back of the cell. Not all of us human. The crowd parted, revealing a figure that made Maya's breath catch. The newcomer was humanoid but wrong, as if someone had taken a human template and twisted it into something nightmarish. His skin was pale as starlight, his eyes were solid black, and when he smiled, Maya counted too many teeth. "Kane!" she breathed, recognizing him from classified intelligence reports. "The Void Walker. You know me." His voice carried harmonics that seemed to bypass her ears and speak directly to her nervous system. How flattering. "And you are Dr. Maya Chen, the woman who made the Hegemony so afraid that they threw you in here with us." Kane glided forward with impossible grace. The other prisoner stepped aside, and Maya realized this wasn't just respect. It was fear. These killers, these monsters, were afraid of him. "I have been watching you, Doctor, studying your technique." Kane's smile widened, showing more of those nightmare teeth. "You fight like someone who has killed before. Many times." Maya's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her posture. A subtle thing, but Kane noticed. His black eyes glittered with interest. "The files say you're a researcher," he continued, beginning to circle her like a predator. "A scientist working on cancer cures. But I see something else. I see someone who has walked in darkness and made it her home. Cancer research requires a lot of field work," Maya said quietly. "You'd be surprised what you learn when you're developing targeted cellular destruction protocols." The silence stretched between them like a wire under tension. Then Kane threw back his head and laughed, a sound that made several prisoners cover their ears. "Oh, this is delicious." He stopped circling, facing her directly. They threw a lamb in with the wolves, not knowing the lamb had already tasted blood. Maya's smile was sharp as broken glass. "Who says I'm the lamb?" The standoff lasted 3 heartbeats. Maya and Kane faced each other in the blood-red emergency lighting, while 20 of the galaxy's most dangerous killers watched in fascination. The air tasted of anticipation and barely contained violence. Then Kane smiled that terrible smile and stepped back. "I think we're going to be great friends, Dr. Chen." Maya relaxed slightly, but kept her guard up. Friends don't usually threaten each other within 5 minutes of meeting. I wasn't threatening. Kane's black eyes glittered with amusement. "I was testing. There's a difference." He gestured to the other prisoners. "These fools attacked you because they saw weakness. I waited because I saw strength." The Bruggen warrior, Gorthak, had finally recovered enough to stand. His left arm still hung useless, and his red eyes burned with humiliation. "This is not over, human. I will have my revenge." Maya didn't even look at him. "Get in line." Over the following days, Maya established herself in the cell block's brutal hierarchy. The weak served the strong, and the strong served whoever was strongest. It was a simple system, refined by violence and maintained by fear. Maya quickly discovered she didn't need to be the biggest predator. She just needed to be the smartest. "Tell me about the guards," she said to Vixen, an Altarian smuggler who'd been imprisoned for selling weapons to rebel factions. The blue-skinned woman had survived 3 years in the block by being useful, trading information for protection. "They rotate shifts every 8 hours, Vixen whispered, glancing around to make sure they weren't overheard. "Captain Vex runs the day shift, Lieutenant Scar handles nights, and Commander Thane covers the middle watch." Maya nodded, filing the information away. "Security protocols?" "Full lockdown every night. Neural inhibitor fields during feeding times. Random searches once a week, but they never find anything because." Vixen paused, studying Maya's face. "Why do you want to know all this?" "Academic curiosity." Maya's smile was innocent. "I've always been interested in closed system dynamics." Vixen didn't look convinced, but she continued. "The guards never enter the block alone. Always teams of 4 minimum, and they keep the really dangerous prisoners sedated. Define really dangerous." "Kane, mostly. Sometimes they hit him with neural dampeners just to keep him calm. The rest of us, they figure the environment will handle naturally. Maya's eyes found Kane across the block. The Void Walker was sitting in meditation, his pale form perfectly still. As if sensing her gaze, his black eyes opened and fixed on her. He smiled and gave a small wave. Charming. What about external communications? Maya asked. None. This place is designed to be a black hole. Things go in, they don't come out. Vixen, mind if I join you? Please. Kane gestured to the floor. Beside him. I was hoping we could chat. Maya settled cross-legged, noting how the temperature seemed to drop several degrees in Kane's immediate vicinity. Cozy spot you got here. I prefer the dark. It's more honest. Kane's voice carried those strange harmonics that made her teeth ache. Tell me, doctor, what brings a cancer researcher to a maximum security prison? I cured something the Hegemony didn't want cured. Maya kept her voice level, but let a thread of anger seep through. Funny how healing becomes a crime when it threatens the right profit margins. Kane nodded thoughtfully. And what did you cure exactly? Maya met his black gaze steadily. Everything. The silence stretched between them. Then Kane laughed, that same sound that made the other prisoners shudder. Universal cancer cure. Of course. No wonder they threw you to us. He leaned closer, and Maya caught a scent like ozone and burning metal. But that's not what scares him, is it? It's what you had to do to develop it. Maya's smile was winter cold. You'd be surprised how much you can learn about killing when you're trying to perfect the art of cellular assassination. Show me. Excuse me. Kane gestured to the other prisoners, scattered around the block. You've established dominance through superior technique, but you haven't really cut loose yet. I can smell it on you, Doctor. The hunger, the need to let the monster out of its cage. Maya studied his face. Try to read the alien features. What are you suggesting? Gorhack has been planning something. Him and his little crew of failures. Kane's smile showed too many teeth. They're going to try to corner you tomorrow, during feeding time. Primitive revenge fantasy. And you're telling me this why? Because I want to see what you do when someone really threatens you. Kane's black eyes reflected the emergency lighting like mirrors. I want to see the real Maya-chan. The next day, feeding time arrived like clockwork. The guards activated the neural inhibitor fields and opened the food slots. Tasteless protein paste and synthetic water, barely enough to sustain life. Maya collected her portion and found a spot against the wall to eat. She saw them coming before they made their move. Gorhack and 5 others, positioning themselves to cut off her escape routes. The Bruggen warrior's arm had healed enough for him to use it, though Maya noticed he still favored his right side. Amateur. Time for payback, human. Gorhack growled, his scarred face twisted with rage. No tricks this time. Just pain. Maya set down her food tray and stood slowly. Gorhack, Gorhack, Gorhack. She shook her head sadly. Haven't you learned anything? I learned that humans break easily, he snarled, lunging forward. Maya moved like liquid lightning, but this time she didn't hold back. Her hand found a pressure point on Gorhack's neck, and he dropped like a stone, paralyzed but conscious. The other attackers hesitated, suddenly uncertain. Temporal nerve cluster, Maya explained conversationally, as if giving a lecture. Fascinating structure, really. In most humanoid species, a precise strike can cause complete muscle paralysis while leaving the subject fully aware. She looked down at Gorhack's horrified eyes. The effect should wear off in about 6 hours. One of the other prisoners, a Korvat berserker named Drac, roared and charged. Maya sidestepped his rush and drove her fingers into a specific point behind his ear. Drac's roar cut off mid-breath, and he crumpled to the floor, his nervous system short-circuiting. Synaptic disruption, she noted, stepping over his twitching form. That one's permanent, I'm afraid. The remaining 4 attackers looked at each other, then at their fallen comrades, then back at Maya. She stood among them like death incarnate, her hand steady, her expression calm. Anyone else want a free anatomy lesson? They ran. Maya dusted off her hands and resumed eating her protein paste. Around the block, the other prisoners stared at her with new understanding. She wasn't just dangerous. She was surgical in her violence, precise in her destruction. Kane materialized beside her, his footsteps silent on the metal floor. Beautiful work, though I noticed you left them alive. Dead bodies attract too much attention from the guards. Maya took another bite of paste. Besides, there are worse things than death. Indeed there are. Kane settled beside her, his presence like a cold wind. Tell me about your research, Doctor. The real research. Maya glanced around, making sure they weren't overheard. The Hegemony thinks I developed a cancer cure. That's technically true, but incomplete. Go on. I didn't just cure cancer. I learned to weaponize cellular regeneration itself. Maya's voice dropped to a whisper. Imagine being able to control cellular death and rebirth at will, make someone's body turn against itself, or force it to regenerate in ways that... She paused, searching for the right words. Let's just say the applications go far beyond medicine. Kane's black eyes widened with genuine interest. You can kill with precision or create something worse than death. Bingo! Maya's smile was razor-sharp. The Hegemony discovered what I was really working on during a routine inspection. They found my private lab, my real notes. She laughed bitterly. Funny thing is, I developed most of the lethal applications while trying to cure my own daughter's leukemia. Your daughter? Dead. 3 years ago. The Hegemony's medical cartels refused treatment because we couldn't afford their prices. Maya's voice went flat, emotionless. I spent 2 years developing the cure, but it was too late for her, so I kept working, kept perfecting the process. And now I know how to make anyone's body eat itself from the inside out, how to trigger regenerative processes that turn healing into horror. Maya finished her paste and set the tray aside. The Hegemony was right to be afraid. Kane was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed, that harmonics-laden sound that made reality seem to shiver around them. Oh, Doctor, I think you and I are going to accomplish great things together, such as escape, for starters. Revenge, obviously. Kane's smile was predatory. But first, we need to send a message. 3 days later, Guard Captain Vex made his routine inspection of the block. He found Gordhack sitting against the wall, apparently recovered from his encounter with the human. The Bruggen warrior looked up as Vex approached, his red eyes focusing slowly. Captain, Gordhack rumbled. I need medical attention. Vex laughed. What's wrong, tough guy? Human too much for you? Please. Gordhack's across the block. Maya Chen sat reading a data pad she'd somehow acquired. She looked up as Vex began shouting for medical assistance, and she smiled. The smile of someone who just sent a very clear message. Kane appeared beside her, his form seeming to condense out of shadow. Exquisite work, Doctor. How long until the effect becomes irreversible? Oh, it already is, Maya said cheerfully. Gordhack has maybe 6 hours before total cellular collapse. The beauty of it is that no scanner in the galaxy will be able to identify what killed him. And the other 4? Symptoms should start manifesting in the next day or 2. Slower progression, more educational. Maya's smile widened. I want the guards to have time to study the process. Learn what happens when you cross someone who understands biology better than they understand fear. As medical teams swarmed into block, Maya allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Hegemony had locked her up with monsters, thinking they were disposing of a problem. Instead, they'd given her access to test subjects and a partner who understood the art of refined cruelty. What's our next move? She asked Kane. Now, my dear doctor, we prepare for the real fun. Kane's black eyes glittered with malice. Because if they think the cell block is horrifying, wait until they see what we can accomplish with a whole station to work with. Maya's laugh echoed off the walls, harmonizing with Kane's inhuman amusement. The guards had no idea what they'd unleashed. The Hegemony thought they'd silence the threat by burying her in the deepest, darkest hole they could find. They were about to learn the truth about cages. Sometimes they don't keep the monsters in. Sometimes they keep the monsters safe until they're ready to come out and play. And Dr. Maya Chen was very ready to play.